Welcome to the Creators MBA podcast, your go-to resource for mastering the art and science of digital product entrepreneurship. My name is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I help business owners generate consistent revenue from their digital product business without the need to be glued to their desk, constantly live launching, or worrying about the social media algorithms. I hope you enjoy our episode today. All right. I am super excited about our conversation today. I'm just honored to be in the room, honestly, with all of these newsletter operators. They are going to have a wealth of information for you. And just so you know, if you are coming in, you have questions, we will answer your questions. So you could put them in the chat. Let us know what questions you have. We're going to be monitoring that. We want to make sure that all of your questions are answered. And I know that some of you sent some in through the Google form. So we're going to answer those also. But I want to go ahead and get started. I'm going to kick it off. But first, I'm going to welcome all of our panelists. So what I want to do was give them 1 minute to tell all of you about them and their newsletter. We'll do that, and then we'll get started with the conversation. Emily, you're at the top of my screen, so I'll let you go first.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Destiny. Super excited to be here. My name is Emily Claire Hughes. I am the founder of the 10K Email Club. I am a former cruise ship singer, so I am a firm believer in the power of a pivot. I made a very large pivot later on in life. And now, like I said, as the founder of the 10K Email Club, it is a done-with-you email marketing program to help female founders turn their email newsletters into six-figure sales generators. So I am very passionate about email newsletters and very excited to be here with all of you guys today. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Russell, you're next on my screen here.
Amazing. Hi, I'm Russell Nolte. I'm a USA Today bestselling author. I run a newsletter and community called Hapitalist, where we help you be brilliantly inefficient and optimize for joy. I've run many companies, many into the ground, and a couple that have survived for a decade. So I've been doing this for a very long time.
Thank you, Russell. Rachel, you're next.
Hi, I'm Rachel Lipson. I founded a company called The Point. I help busy families use credit card points to travel. I also founded a music school for kids. It's a songwriting school for children in New York City 17 years ago. So I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. And my Substack, The Point, is a top 35 in travel on Substack.
I can't wait to hear more about that. Kate?
Yeah, I am Kate All. I run a company called Simple Pin Media. We are a Pinterest marketing agency, but in order to help connect with our audience, we have a podcast, the Simple Pin podcast, and a newsletter called Pinterest Made Simple that goes out every Wednesday. And it's a really good way for us to connect with all levels of people interested in Pinterest marketing, but also be this news you can use around Pinterest and kind of an up-to-date place where people can get information plus extra tips. So I've run that now for 12 years. It's been really fun to grow an email list, have it, and I've had it really from the beginning when I had 2 people on it. So it's been just a great joy to be able to write and communicate what I think about Pinterest marketing and how we can help serve people.
I can't believe you've been doing this for over 12 years. That's amazing. Either can I. The newsletter for 12 years. I love it. Lucy?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. My name is Lucy, and I am from the newsletter, The Hyperfix. The Hyperfix is for people who are obsessed with storytelling and who do not want to read all the hype about AI. So we help people become better storytellers by leveraging AI. And we also demystify a lot of the gloom and doom, the hype, and a lot of the marketing spin on how people need to adopt AI and how it's going to be the new future. So we really find a balanced approach and provide people with ethical alternatives for exploring and learning more about AI. We also have a YouTube channel that complements the weekly newsletter where I have a team with my co-founder who's a software developer, and we go really in depth in a lot of these issues.
I love that. Love that. Kate?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Kordsmeyer, and I'm the founder of Success with Soul. So we have a newsletter that I've started since the beginning. And really, Destiny and I, and actually Kate all were actually at a conference that last week or 2 weeks ago, talking about how I've always used my newsletter as like a marketing channel to sell my courses and coaching and programs. And I'm really starting to shift my perspective on using it as a product itself too, and how it could also add its own revenue stream. And it's interesting because I used to do this in previous careers of mine. I started Success with Soul in 2019. And it just took me, 8 years to figure out how to meld all of these things together. But I had a multiple six-figure blog that I ended up selling. And I can safely say that one of the number one reasons the blog was so successful was because of our email list. And that is absolutely true for this business that I run now. We make 99% of our sales from email. And I teach people how to grow without social media, and email is the number one way to do that.
Thank you, Kate. And Kate, just so you know, I know you missed our original conversation. We were all at the New Media Conference.
Oh, we all were?
Every single one of us. And I had no idea. I had never met everybody before.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
All there.
That's great.
Yeah,
Next year, we'll have to find each other.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Destiny Kopp. I run the Creators MBA podcast and newsletter, and I've been doing that for many years now, about 8 years. But I will say, fun fact, Kate, I'll give you a little bit of information. A few years ago, I went knee deep in newsletters and did a 6-month research study in them. And your newsletter, Kate, is one of the ones that really inspired me to go down this path. I knew that I wanted to take my email marketing to the next level, and I didn't really know what I was doing wrong at that point. And I knew I was doing something wrong, so I went down the path of studying newsletters. But I always referenced Kate newsletter because her newsletter was one of the ones that I read every single Wednesday morning. Like, I looked forward to it. I saved it in a special Gmail folder, and I really wanted that experience for my newsletter readers. And that kind of inspired me to kick all of that off. And Kate, I've never told you that before, so you didn't know that. So I'm not spilling the beans right here. So I'm very honored that you are joining us here today. So I want to jump into the questions that we have gotten. One of the ones that came in through the form, and I think it's a really good one to kick us off because it's probably how a lot of people may be feeling right now. And we have some people on the call here with us who have some top newsletters, quite frankly, in their niches. So I think they're going to be able to speak to this. And the question does come down to, is it worth continuing my newsletter now that everyone has saturated the market?
Yes, obviously.
I think it's so funny that they say now that the market is saturated. We've been saying the market is saturated for decades. Yeah, go ahead, Russell. I just had to laugh at that.
Okay, so a human being who wants to run a business needs a way to aggregate the humans who want to hear from them. I was getting a massage the other day, and the person said that they also do numerology. And I was like, oh, where do you aggregate these people? And she said, Instagram. And I was like, that's how Instagram aggregates people. How do you aggregate people? And she was like, I guess I don't. And I was just like, I used to do in-person things. And I was like, okay, but that's the in-person thing, aggregating humans. So like, care if you have a newsletter or you have a circle community, or I don't know, you have like penguins that you send out with like nice little direct mail campaigns. But like, every person who wants to run a business needs customers, and you certainly don't want to gate like your customers so that someone else controls whether you have them or not. I would finally say nothing is saturated. Books have been saturated for hundreds of years. Like, literally, that person that I got a massage from didn't even have a newsletter. So what does saturation mean? Like, more than 100% of people have them? That's just not possible, despite all of us, I'm sure, saying we should have a newsletter for the better part of a decade.
I just always like to remind people that there's billions of people in the world. there are more people that need help than there are people helping. Like you can definitely find a space in any niche, in any area, and nobody thinks exactly the way you do. Nobody writes the way you do. Nobody has the exact perspective that you have. Like, I agree. There is no such thing as saturation. And there's so much room for everybody. And people, it's not like people only subscribe to one newsletter. Oh, I already get a health newsletter, so I don't need any more. People who are interested in topics usually have lots of books, listen to lots of podcasts, watch lots of YouTube. Like they're not just one and done.
And I would say too, everybody has an email, right? And sometimes people have multiples, and there's habits that users create to either have an email dedicated to junk or an email dedicated to newsletters. And I would say just by simply having that habit is there's somebody out there for you to connect with. Every morning, the first thing I do is open up my email, my personal email, not my work, and I go directly to the newsletters that I want to read for the day. And these are daily ones. And part of it is because I know on Instagram or I know in other social platforms, I'm not actually going to be served up exactly what I want. So my email then is really catered to what I want. Sure, there's junk in there and everything like that, but I go straight for the ones that I'm going to read and how it's going to inform my day. I'll also say this too, is that the saturation question it's a good one to ask. And I think you ask it from a place of a little bit of like imposter syndrome, a little bit. Am I going to have space at the table? And you don't know if you're going to have space at the table until you start writing. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles. I would probably argue that less the worry of saturation, but more the worry of what is your voice? And you won't find your voice until you start writing. And that's how you get around the saturation thing, because now you found it. Now you found what you want to say to your person to where you can overcome that worry of saturation.
I think
I agree.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, that's okay. I agree. I agree with what everybody's saying. And I would also say that there's a business idea called the blue ocean theory, where I like to picture myself like literally in an ocean by myself, even when there's like ships around but you picture yourself doing your own thing, not affected by others. And I think when you go to create a newsletter or you're working on something you've already been building, it's really helpful to not let imposter syndrome creep in, like Kate said, and think of it as what you're adding in value. You don't need to be for everybody. You just need to find the people that want to hear from you. And there are really so many people in this world. And inventing a whole new category is fine, but there's like a proof of concept in newsletters. They've been around for a very long time. And people have had them for so long, and so many have survived. And I think it's really important to just keep going and not feel like because other people have one that yours isn't worth it.
I was going to build on exactly what I think Kate and Destiny had said as well. Is I always tell people who are scared of sending, I'm always like, is there a newsletter? And I don't even have to finish my sentence before everyone goes, oh yeah, there's this one newsletter I really love getting. So be that newsletter. Think about becoming that newsletter for your readers. Nothing brings me more joy than like the replies I get for my newsletter. Oh, I look forward to this every Thursday morning. You can be that person, exactly to your point, Rachel, as well, of just not worrying about what everyone else is doing. There's a reason everyone's on social media. There's a reason everyone has a newsletter. It's because it works and people are finding their way to really engage and connect with their subscribers. And I think about newsletters as the best way I can build relationships with people. And why would I give up on doing that, right? That is such a business builder that I would just say focus on becoming that newsletter that somebody really gets excited to read all the time. And then you have an exciting reason to keep going.
I love that.
I'll just add to in that is never underestimate the power or the leverage of a small but engaged list. Destiny, when you were talking about finding Kate's newsletter, you were like an evangelist, right? I was like, oh, I've got to check out what she's doing. Imagine if you had just 100 people on your list who are that excited about your brand and what you have to say. Imagine if that was 300. And then it really does the work for you. The marketing work is those people who are so excited about what you're doing, love hearing from you. They're the ones that forward your newsletter, tell people about it. And so I just find that there's so much leverage from a small but engaged audience.
I love that. And I think, Emily, you definitely hit the nail on the head. Be that newsletter, right? Be that newsletter that they want to save in their special Gmail folder, that they're like, if you don't send it out that Wednesday, if I didn't get Kate's newsletter on Wednesday, I'd be like, Kate, where is it? I'm expecting that. I need all those juicy Pinterest tips. Okay. So I think, Lucy, what you just said here about the engaged list, even a small engaged list. I know a lot of people, we got a lot of questions related to growing my email list, growing my newsletter, growing my subscribers. One of the questions that we can start with is, how has your growth strategy shifted in the last year? What has changed? We know a lot of things changing related to AI. Are you doing anything differently relating to growing your email list? What strategies, what special juicy tips do you have for us?
My newsletter has become much more focused on tangible goods in the last year. So like we have a tarot deck. When someone joins at our founding member tier, I actually send them a packet with a letter from our mascot that was written by our mascot, Happy, like with stickers and a totem and like some other stuff to make them get excited for the brand. But I'm reading a book now, and the idea is basically like, no matter what happens in the world, the thing that is scarce is the thing that has value. And so I use AI a lot. So like I'm very AI positive, and like and I'm very open about it, that I've done it in like books as well. But like the more other things exist, the more unique humanity is, and the more unique you are, and the more unique your perspective is. I just want to go back and say one last thing about what Emily said, which is you have to believe that you are able to be the number one place and the number one. And it generally requires you to say, ooh, I don't say this usually on 7 people calls, but like writing and existing and building a business is an inherently narcissistic act. Like it means not only do you expect someone to find your stuff, read your stuff, make space for your stuff, buy your stuff, and fall in love with your stuff so much that they have to tell other people about it. So we are taught for our entire lives that like it's good to be small and play small and do all these, be humble. And there's a place for humility as well. But like you have to get over the fact that growing a business requires you to exist in the world and take up space. And so what I generally tell people at this point is, you deserve to take up space and you deserve to be at the table. And until you can believe that about yourself, all of this other stuff is very hard. But once you do believe that you deserve to take up space, that you have value, and that there are people who will love your work, then the rest of it becomes easy, because then you are morally obligated to tell as many people about it. Because if you do good work and you think it will change lives, you have to tell as many people as possible. You have no choice.
I'll just add to that. That's really good points. I love that, Russell. Thank you. And when I see you is I can see your personality shining through your brand. And founder-led marketing is really a way that I've seen audiences really grow quickly when they connect to who you are, and not being afraid to like really put yourself out there, not just like the button up LinkedIn version, but who you really are with like your quirks and your totality. So building in public, being honest about what you're learning, where maybe you've made some mistakes and some failures as you go, what your wins are, what you're doing well, and having that honest and balanced showcase of yourself, I think is really important. Our list started growing when we added our YouTube channel. And I say our because I really started this as my newsletter, but the newsletter is really tied to my startup. We build agentic systems for newsletter curation. And when I invited my 2 team members, my co-founder and our COO, to be part of this, I write the newsletter, but we break down the topics on YouTube. And we all have very different personalities and different takes on AI. And that has seemed to really capture like more attention for us to just put out who we are and be ourselves on YouTube and have my own voice in the newsletter.
So, Lucy, I just want to ask a follow-up question because I know people might be thinking this in their mind. So you said that YouTube's growing your newsletter. Can you give us maybe some tips or some strategies on how you're taking a YouTube video watcher, that's not the right subscriber, and getting them on your email list?
Yeah, I think this is recent for us, and going into the New Media Summit, it was really helpful because we were at a place where like, how do we feed the newsletter from the YouTube channel? And how do we make sure we're getting subscribers? And that was such a point of focus. But then when I went to the New Media Summit, I was talking to people, I was learning about what they were doing at Tangle and 1440. And it was like, people just want to consume content in different ways. Your YouTube channel doesn't necessarily have to feed the newsletter in terms of driving subscribers. You're going to have just an audience, and your audience, like the newsletter can be the main driver of consistency, of information, of where you can share all these other ways that you're creating content. But I don't think you need to be so hung up on if one is like the funnel to the other. I think it's just, if people are interested in what we have to say, how do we meet our audience where they're at and give them different dimensions? And one thing is that I don't think you need to put a lot of intense focus or resources into production. Well, one thing we were doing is we were having these like weekly meetings anyway, and we were using the transcript from the meeting to create the newsletter because our best ideas came out when we sat down in Zoom and we talked out different topics. And then we realized, wait, we should just record this and put this up. And it's, again, we didn't put a whole lot into the production. We're using Riverside AI, which makes it very easy to edit and edit the likes and ums and all of those things. But it became a seamless part of the content creation process that we were already doing.
I'll camp on that a little bit with YouTube because that is our number one driver right now as well. And we had our opt-ins before, and actually we made the newsletter the front and center opt-in for a long time. We built a great page where we talked about it. But actually one that's been better performing on YouTube is what we call our Start series. And this is a 4-part video series that when people sign up for it, they automatically get all 4 videos on a page. We did have it previously dripped out, and we found people they want to Netflix your content, right? So they just want to binge it right away. So for us, YouTube has been a great way to get a lot of those entry-level type of people that are curious about Pinterest or doing a lot of how-tos. And actually, for a long time, Pinterest was one of our largest traffic drivers for our list, and then SEO and Google as well. So I think when you think about which growth lever you want to pull, pick one, because it is very overwhelming to think about all these other options. And for me, when I started out, I actually wrote my newsletter originally for my clients because I wanted to keep them up to date. And then I asked them to share it with their communities. And I asked them what other communities do you think would need this? So sometimes YouTube can feel overwhelming. I've heard from more people who say YouTube feels like a heavy lift. There's all this production, blah, blah, blah. I think going down to who is in your network and your community, and if you can just get 5 to 10 people this week, start there. And that makes it feel more manageable. And just a quick tip for those who do only have 10 to 12 people on their list and they're just starting, think of those people as sitting in your living room. You would have a thoughtful and meaningful conversation with people sitting in your living room. So write your newsletter, not thinking that it's small and you only have 10 or 15 people, but you have those 10 or 15 people that are sitting there, and talk to them as you would 10,000. So that's just a quick little tip.
I think as well, something that I find really interesting about the direction that marketing in general is going in 2026 as well is we're seeing a really big return to in real life events. And I don't want to discount those opportunities, like especially if you're a thought leader in your field or you're an expert or if you're speaking somewhere, have that final CTA of whatever you're doing be a QR code for your lead magnet and then see that like flurry of new subscribers come in. I think we're desperate, like in this era of AI, which is incredible. I'm a big proponent and advocate of AI as well, but we really want to connect with people. So have that kind of like use and leverage those in real life events and those in real life moments to build your list. And to that point, something that I've seen that is interesting, and I'm curious if anyone else has seen this as well, is I do feel like slowly the whole like evergreen funnel for a pre-recorded webinar, I feel like that's dying down a bit because people are more so looking for live, in real life, real time events that feel more special. Because if we wanted something pre-recorded, to be honest, we can probably go and find that information with ChatGPT. So I find that to be a really interesting kind of shift that I'm seeing. And I'm not saying it's dead at all. I still know people who have a lot of success with those evergreen pre-recorded funnels, but I'm definitely seeing a shift towards, because I work with a lot of service providers, coaches, course creators, things like that. And for that, it's a lot of workshops, webinars, master classes, whatever you want to call it, those like free conversion events. And I'm seeing a big return to doing those live in real time with significantly better results.
I'll just speak really good. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think that's such a good point, Emily. And it comes back to what Russell was saying, that there's so much more value now in some of those experiences in the age of AI. And so I think anything that you can do to get people in person, or to have just like Russell sending things out with his for his founding subscribers, that those kinds of things really make people feel like they're like things money can't buy, things that you can't generate with ChatGPT. You know, those are things that make people feel really connected to you. And to the point that others have said, anything that you can do to really be yourself and have people see that and come to you really helps. One of the things that I do for my founding members is send them a souvenir from our chat holes. It's actually on my list for my next trip, but I'm going to start gathering the souvenirs, like small things, like maybe like something small that I can pick up and bring back. And those are really special ways that you can help people feel connected that you can't really get with AI. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is just in terms of growing newsletters and getting more subscribers, I do look at it as I have different channels. Like my business actually started with a Facebook group, which is maybe a little old fashioned, but the Facebook group is actually thriving. There's almost 5,000 mostly Brooklyn moms in the Facebook group. And one of the things I do with that is when people actually join as a member, there's just a little question, what's your email address so we can add you to our list? And most people do what they're asked and add their email address. And then they get added to the list and agree to it. And that's really helped. And we do the same thing with Instagram, trying to pull followers off of Instagram into readers on a Substack. And then lastly, just the recommendations in with newsletters to be really helpful. If you are on Substack, having another Substack writer recommend you and you recommend them, that can be a really great way to have like-minded readers come to you without having to do a lot of extra legwork.
And I think there's other email service providers. I know that Kit also does the recommendations between creators. So depending on what email service provider you're on, you can do that. Emily, I just wanted to circle back to what you were saying. And I would say in terms of going back to the question with the strategy shift, I would say the live events for me has been the biggest game changer in the past year and a half. Like it's been much easier to get people into the live events, which is one of the reasons why, right, I'm doing things like this, but get people into the live webinars and that sort of thing. And they want that live connection, right? Because I think we just live in a world of AI. And so any other comments on this one before we move on?
I can just add real quick in terms of the original question, I think, of growing your email list and how you're doing that. And I think there's been a lot of great ways already shared. And I just also would say the fastest way to grow your email list is to run ads. And so that seems to be, even we talked a lot about at the New Media Summit, we have 8-10 figure business owners up there. And the biggest thing that kept coming up for me was like, gosh, how do they have these 4 million subscribers on their email list? And then the speaker would say, last year we spent $100 million on ads. And it was like, oh, okay, that's the missing piece here. And so I've run ads off and on in my business, but I decided to finally learn how to do it myself. And I started doing it myself last February 2025. So just over a year now. And I can safely say it's been definitely one of the best decisions I've made. It's grown the list by thousands. We also can monetize those people even on day one we're running ads usually to a freebie to join our newsletter. And then we have a tripwire funnel on the back end of that. And it works really well. And it feeds two birds with one seed with growing your email list and kind of monetizing or at least offsetting some of that ad spend.
And that kind of brings us into our next question. And it's related to how do you monetize your newsletter? What are different ways that you may monetize it?
I can go ahead and start with the boring one, which is this is like how I typically work on newsletters with the founders that I work with is eventually it's driving sales, right? So I like to use, let's say, 4 to 6 week stretches to really just share content, build relationships, not focus on sales, and then look at the calendar and throughout the year, let's say once a quarter, if it's more of a high ticket program, do a conversion event to a big sale or a launch. So that to me is the easiest, if you will, way that I think about monetizing newsletters. Depending on the person I'm working with, I have a few content creators in my email club. We then work on brand deals and sponsorships, not so much affiliate links, but like approaching brands that they are already maybe working with over on Instagram and saying, hey, we've actually put together this package. We'd love to do a dedicated newsletter about you for X thousands of dollars. And then that becomes a way that they can monetize it as well. So those are the two, I would say, most traditional ways that I've seen. But I think we all know as well with Beehive and some of these other platforms coming out, there are umpteen other ways you can monetize your list. But those are the two that I feel very comfortable with and I'm just seeing all the time.
I totally agree. And I have one kind of like little, not disagreement necessarily, but just, I approach this a little bit differently, which is that every email I send is a sales email, even though I am also nurturing and providing value into it. But I have so many of my clients come and they're like, I'm not making any money from my email list. And then we actually look at what they're emailing and it's way too much just nurture. They're never actually asking for the sale. They're never telling anybody that they even have anything for sale. And so I always like to emphasize that you can do both. And I think the most effective newsletters will do, like every newsletter I write, I say, what is the value that somebody gets out of just reading this, even if they don't purchase the thing? So I'm not just sending an email that's, hey, buy this. Here's why it's cool. I'm also like my emails are very personality driven. There are always lots of stories. Sometimes I'm sharing a tip or advice or I'm just entertaining them. It's just something like, I'm just hoping that this makes you laugh or smile or not feel alone this week. And yeah, I just like to make that distinction that you can do both in the same email.
I can add to that as well. I think that sales gets a bad rap and understandably, but the goal is that you have a business, like your newsletter is a business and it's helping people and staying focused on that. I know this has been discussed, but staying focused on the fact that you are helping people and then it's coming from a place of wanting to do good. People want to support you. They really do. And they need to know exactly how. And it doesn't mean they're giving you a handout and it doesn't mean it's charity. It means that you are providing a service that's helping people and they need to know exactly how they can use it and how that's going to help build your business. And I think storytelling and conversations around that can really help people to feel connected to you as a small business owner. And again, that's still, even in this age with a lot of people having newsletters, it's still a differentiator. Like having a small business, so many things are so corporate, and having something where it's like you're talking directly to people. That's a really big deal. And that's something really specific. And in my newsletters, I have a lot of affiliate links, more financial services. So it's a lot of credit card links and some shop my and things like that. But the majority of it is helping people figure out which credit cards to get in order to get more points. So it's a win-win situation. They get points for travel. I get affiliate commission from them using my links. And just reminding people, like Kate said, in almost every single email, I can't even think of one where I didn't include something, some way that somebody could click. And it doesn't mean that every single I expect to convert necessarily. But I think that there's just a lot of opportunity to put it out there and not feel like you're being salesy, but you're actually providing something that can really help people.
Okay. There's a lot of non-crunchy answers, so I can give a crunchy answer. So the mindset part of this is that you have to believe that you can make unlimited money, that unlimited money exists, and that you can keep getting it. No matter how much or little you have, like there is always more money and you deserve it. So let's say that the thing that I think about, because I've made so many books, is I think about containers for money. And that all of my books, every product that you put out, because I'm much more product focused, is about developing a container for money. And if you have been bad at monetizing your blog before, it means mainly that you've made a bad container for money. It does not mean you are bad or good or anything. It just means like you're very good at making good or bad at that container for money being good or bad. Like books are containers for money that are like $20, and like courses are containers for money that are like $1,000, and then done for you services are a container for money that are like $5,000. And so the question that I would say is, what containers for money resonate with you? Because you are not going to be able to sell anything that you do not believe in, and you are not going to be able to get somebody else to buy it if you do not believe that you are worth the energetic exchange. So the final thing that I will say is that everything is energy. Like money is energy, time is energy, effort is energy, attention is energy. And business is built on an equal exchange of energies. But like you might spend 1 hour to do something that's worth $500. And if you put it in a container that is worth $20, like a book, no one is going to value that thing at $500. They're not going to give you $500 for a book. They just won't do it. Some people might, but like in general, you're not going to give someone $500 for a book. So what would you do? There's courses. We have like a Russell bot that's trained on 3 million words that I've done that like people really love. And I love because it helps build that para-social relationship between me and my audience. And there's courses, there's masterminds, there's all sorts of things that are different containers for money. And like your job is to figure out where your energy is good and where your audience energy is good. But I would caution you to not, just because something is not a great container for money is not you being bad. It's not your audience being bad. It's just there's not a good energetic exchange between that thing. And you can come back the next week and make a different container for money and be like, oh, you like this container for money. I'm going to keep doing that. And like this container for money doesn't feel like I put too much energy in for the money that I get back. But that's okay because I learned something. So there's no good or bad that comes out of it. It's just data. And there's no bad decisions that come from good data.
Any other ways you guys are monetizing your email list that you want to bring up? And I can jump in here and give you some thoughts and some of the changes that I have made over the years, especially after doing the research study, because I really started thinking about my newsletter in a different way. And one of the reasons why I went down this path to monetize it differently is I'm like, okay, I'm sending out this weekly newsletter, but I'm spending a lot of time in it, but I'm not making any money in it. I can make money through my launches, but I want to make money when I send out this weekly newsletter. So there's different ways you can do it. One of the things that I've started doing this in the past couple of years is running ads. So ad networks are out there. I personally use the one from Hit. So I'm part of that system. And sometimes I'll get a notification from them and they say, Lovable is one that sponsored my newsletter this past Sunday. So they sent me a notification that says, Lovable wants to sponsor your newsletter. Do you accept it? So I just have to basically click accept and schedule it. And I can add that ad into my newsletter and I can get paid. So another way to monetize it.
Oh my God, and no one said subscriptions, right? Like most of the money that I make is like from people subscribing to the newsletter. We have 2 tiers, $80 for a year or $300 for a year. And there's 900 people in between those 2 tiers.
So, Russell, you have a paid, is it a free plus paid or just a paid newsletter? How do you structure yours?
So I send everything out except for income reports for free. And then we pay gate resources. So I have a lot of resources back here that are like books and courses and things. And those are the things that are pay gated. If you are someone who doesn't have a lot of content, then you may want to pay gate certain things. Like my friend Tom does like one, which he does like these really weird marketing ideas. And like he'll do one for free and then the other four like you have to pay for basically. So like sometimes there'll be like Emily at Feed Me does like the top of her newsletter free and then there's a bunch of other stuff, or pay for financial newsletters. People pay for the speed. So like you can send it to your paid newsletters even a couple hours before like you send it to your free newsletter, because like all the people want to take action. So there's some bit that you can do, but for us, I found that people want the resources. They come for the crunchy bits of like capitalism, optimizing for joy. And they're like, great, how do I do that though? And I'm like, I have all these books and resources you could take advantage of, or you could just have Russell type of conversation with RussellBot. So what is the value churn that you can have that makes it feel effortless and natural?
Ours is a little bit different in the sense of we have our newsletter on Wednesday, and then either on Friday or Monday, we do a kind of like a value email with one call to action. So I'll talk newsletter at first. Is our primary driver for that was to share information, but also to talk about our podcast, to drive to our podcast, because we get the majority of our clients from our podcast and Google. So we want to continue to feed that connection with us. But then we have this resources section where we will either add affiliates, we'll add our own products, and then we'll add like a resource that is truly like, you should go read this. And so we wanted to see it as a multifaceted to make money, but we've also tried doing individual sponsored campaigns that we source. So we would find a company that we work with and we would say, over the next 4 weeks, we'll do a newsletter campaign with you. And they have the option also to buy ad space on the podcast, which also goes on YouTube and the blog. So that's going to be a little bit more expensive. So we've curated these campaigns, and it is a little bit more high touch. Obviously, you're having to have them sign a contract. There's approval of ads. But we've also found they can charge a lot more money based on our rates that we have. So we've done also the kit route, and we just have had a terrible experience with it. Either like our snippets don't work or something else happens. But I love that it's working for you, Destiny, because I believe that it's working for somebody. So that's how we monetize that Wednesday newsletter. But then those other newsletters on Friday or Monday will be very targeted. Sometimes we'll even only send them to a certain segment of our list. Those who are interested in e-commerce for Pinterest, we will write it to maybe only 1,000 people because we know they have definitely clicked that they're interested in e-commerce. Or we might send it to the whole list and say, we're doing a really big launch. We've also just been toying a little bit with our new community on school as a very entry point. It's $9 a month, as potentially we'll run ads to that, which will get them on our list, which will hopefully make money off that as well. So I guess I would say to start with whatever ideas start to churn for you as far as ideas to make money. And like, it's trial and error, right? And all of us have found different ways to make money. And Russell, like you said, different silos or containers or whatever holds this place of money. You're just going to have to figure out what works for you and what feels right.
I love all of that. And we are getting close to our end of the time. So I want to make sure we cover the last section here. And it really comes down to the bigger picture. Like, where do you see this newsletter space going in the next 1 to 2 years? What do you think is going to happen with AI in the inbox? There's so many different ways we could take this conversation. Where do you guys think this is going?
I personally am really excited to see where newsletters go, because I think we've all kind of hit on this in some capacity where, yes, AI is making it very easy for somebody to send an AI-generated newsletter. But I think where I'm finding a lot of fun is leading into the personality and the quirks and the vibrancy of who you are. What are your sayings? Like things that AI is very good at replicating things. It is not good with originating, right? So just bringing those original ideas to something, making it fun, making it interactive. I think those of us all who are at the New Media Summit as well, were probably inspired with a few new ideas there. Is what other media channels are going to start popping up in newsletters? So I'm thinking about it more as being this like living, breathing thing. Whereas I think in the past, it felt like a dispatch that arrives as text in your inbox. And I think the way that they're moving, I personally find really exciting with the different things that we can include. All of the newsletter platforms are honestly to our benefit competing with each other when it comes to features and tools and cool things that we can try and add in. I personally use Flowdesk and I have loved experimenting with their polls. It's been a really fun way to learn more about my audience and segment people accordingly. So I think newsletters are going to become more vibrant, more fun, and more really leaning into the personality of who we are as founders, which I think, Lucy, is probably great news for the work you're doing as well, because it becomes so much more about the stories that we have to tell, the intricacies and details of that, because that's where people really start to root for you as a brand and want to support you as a business. So that's just my 2 cents on where we're going. And I'm honestly really excited for it.
I love that. I feel the same way as Emily. I see a lot of opportunities in the future. I think there's going to be a lot of AI generated content, but people are going to gravitate and be more picky and really want content that's infused with real people's personality, and also creating brands that offer points of in-person connection, events, building communities. That is really going to be a place, I think, where newsletters can thrive. And I do think we're going to see massive disruption in the job market in the next 2 to 5 years. We're already seeing it. And anyone who is going through shift in their work or job loss, like, it's a great time to start a newsletter. I saw recently there was a huge layoff at the Washington Post. Those are all writers and storytellers. And I noticed Tyler Dake, the CEO of Beehive, was giving them free subscriptions to Beehive to start their own newsletter. And so independent voices, independent media, this is a great time, no matter who you are, no matter what industry you're in. Newsletters give you the opportunity to create a digital media asset that's yours and can generate great money to make a living off of, or to sell and be acquired in the future.
I think those are really great points. And I think that I feel like there has to be a way in which this becomes a little bit more collaborative. Like we work towards back towards magazines, where some of these newsletters become columns in an overall magazine kind of style newsletter, where you're subscribing to one thing, but you're accessing various newsletters in that bundle. I don't know who's going to do it, but I think there's going to be a time and a place for that. And I think it can help uplift a lot of people's work more than the recommendations, more than just the networks and community, but really having trusted sources, like you would have trusted a certain magazine that you love, where you have the column on this, the column on that, the style, the finance. And these are all things that work together. And then you subscribe as one.
That's
Yeah,
really, oh, I'm sorry, Russell, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say that's really fascinating. And I come from a journalist background, so I love the idea of there being columns. And I think one of the struggles that I've had is that in the past, I have outsourced the writing of my newsletter to other people on my team. And we saw engagement drop dramatically. And when I started coming back and writing them myself again, even with the help of AI, engagement spiked. We started selling more, conversions were happening, like everything was better. And so I've been struggling with how do I grow something that's bigger than just me, because I'm limited. I'm just one person. And maybe columns is the way that does start. I think people really miss magazines and flipping through that, even though they're obviously pretty much dead at this point. I think we'll see that maybe come up in a different way. And okay, now we're reading them online, and maybe it's less of flipping through a digital book, and it's more hearing from different voices that are curated and trusted. Okay, you loved Kate, you love reading my newsletter. then you'll probably also love who I love reading. And so now I'm going to hire them to come in and they're going to have a column in our newsletter. And I just feel like you just got my wheels turning. So thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, so about half of our content is written by other people because our philosophy is if you want to buy from Russell, like you believe that Russell has done this, but you don't believe other people have done it. So like I need to bring in other humans who have different experiences to show you that like more than a head cis white guy with a beard can do this thing. Like lots of lived experiences can do this. But like the history of our capitalist society has been we bundle and then we unbundle. We bundle and then we unbundle. We bundle and we unbundle. We're at a place that we're like unbundling things now. So I would love to see something like what MetaLabel does. So MetaLabel allows you to like release products and pay everyone in there different percentages. So I would love to see a platform that comes together and that you can say, oh, there's 10 Substack newsletters that all are paying, you pay $10 a month for this one newsletter that has all of these magazine things in there, and then it gets distributed to each person in different percentages, or there's different Story Bundle does this too. It's like the hardest part is not that the technology is there, it's that you have to distribute the money for those things. But I will also finally say that we've all been through this world before and the world has been through it before where power accumulates at the top. Like we went through this in robber barons in the 1890s, and we've done it with like countries. And what happens is smaller entities, people go, I don't want that big entity. And then smaller entities come in and like we build like little collective towns instead of being in big cities. And then those cities aggregate and become this bigger thing. And then we have these like smaller areas. So I think we're in an area that's dominated by 7 companies running all of our ads to everything. But I actually think in general, people hate that. I think that people generally want to walk into a farmer's market and buy from 10 people around them. Like, I don't think that we are born to be efficient. I feel like we are born to be inefficient. Inefficiency is the point of all of this. Like we have been taught for the last 30 years that, oh, everything should be efficient. We should make the most money. We should make the most, if you're not doing it this way, you have to do it this one way. And it's like humans don't actually work that way. They want to be silly and inefficient and do the thing that they want to do. And that means that all of these smaller operators have the ability to enter a market and make good things in a market and let all of the people who want to buy from you all buy together. But I would love to see more like decentralized, but ability to pay people in a way that allows them to collaborate more freely and efficiently.
Well, I can tell you that when I walk away from a conversation with great ideas, I know it's been a wonderful conversation. I've learned so much here today. I love the column idea. Like, hey, when she was talking about that, because I'm adding multiple editions to my Creators MBA newsletter, we're going to be doing an AI edition and a flywheel edition. I'm like, I could have columnists in there. I'm like, how am I going to create all this content? You can bring people in, especially like in the AI space. So super excited. Okay, we are going to wrap it up with one final key takeaway from everybody. Anybody want to go?
Optimize for joy, happiness.com.
I love that.
I would say find your voice by just writing and keep writing.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off what Kate said. I think the best newsletters I've ever written are the ones where I'm the most me. Be the most you can be in your email.
It's a great tip.
I'll go. I think just remember who you're writing for. I always like that vision of picturing all of your subscribers in one place. How great is that they've come to hear what you have to say?
I would say your ideas are worth millions, but not if you don't put them out there.
Very nice. All right. So I think we're done. Appreciate all of you being here today. And thanks for everybody who joined us live. I'm going to wrap it up, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye. See ya.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you loved the show, I'd appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.